321 microphone test 321 578.
Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5.
Hello. Good evening. Welcome to this full council meeting of Colchester Borough Council. I am Councillor Tim Young, Mayor of Colchester, and I'll be chairing the meeting this evening. The meeting is being audio broadcast live over the internet and will also be available to watch afterwards. To begin, as ever, there are a few housekeeping matters. I don't know what Councillor King and Councillor Corey are looking at, but it's obviously very amusing. Something very amusing on video, perhaps. Should the alarm sound, please evacuate using the nearest emergency exit and assemble at the car park at the rear of the town hall. If necessary, we will look to have breaks at approximately 90-minute intervals. Prayers. The Mayor's chaplain, Reverend Sue Howlett, is away on holiday. So we have Pastor Elizabeth Alaki Akinyemi from Divine Assembly Ministries to open the meeting with prayers, please, Elizabeth. Can I ask members to pay attention while this is happening, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your presence with us this day in everything we have done. Some things we have done well, some things not so well. God of our town, soon to be city, we thank you for all the skills, gifts, wisdom, and experience represented in this room. Thank you for that. There are those who give themselves in civic life to the renewal of our communities. We thank you that every agent of change will speak up for the powerless and those without a voice. Please, Lord, bless our Mayor, Councillor Tim Young, and all of the members of this council, and bring your peace into this meeting, we pray, so that wise, informed, and good decisions are made this evening for the benefit of those who rely on us. Help us to discuss the issues before us with courtesy, truth, and mutual respect, and grant that all who are representative of this community and its people will seek to serve the common good through him who came not to be served, but to serve, Jesus Christ our Lord. We give thanks for Colchester and all who dwell in it. Please give us all peace, unity, and prosperity. Amen. The Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Elizabeth. Pastor Elizabeth is a very busy woman and very sensibly can't stay for the rest of the meeting, but has to go. And thank you for stepping in and deputising for the chaplain. Thank you, Elizabeth. Safe journey back. We have apologies received from councillors Law, Lilly, and I'm sure we send Mike our best wishes after his recent operation. McCarthy, Nissen, and we send Steph our best wishes as well. Councillor Davidson and Councillor Luxford Vaughan. Are there any other apologies that we know of? No, good. Have your say. We have some have your say speakers. Following members of the public have indicated their intention to attend and speak, and not being in a raised position, I can't see who's here. I can see Sir Bob is here. Sir Bob Russell is our first have your say speaker. Sir Bob, if you'd like to come forward and sit where the pastor was sitting, and I think by now you know the score. You have 3 minutes. Bell will ring after 2 and then again after 3. So whenever you're ready, Sir Bob, press the button and fire away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question to the leader of the council. What plans does the council have for a permanent structure to commemorate city status?
Thank you, Sir Bob. Councillor King, have you got an answer?
Thank you, Sir Bob, for the question. We are exploring this. I would say now we absolutely do want to have something which will commemorate past and the present today, and leave something which we can be proud. And my colleagues and I would look forward to talking to you and others about exactly how, exactly what, where, and indeed when, as I think it's something we would want to make an occasion of.
Sir Bob, you have a further minute.
I'm very happy with that response, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Sir Bob. Our next speaker is Mr. Nick Chilvers. Nick, if you'd like to come forward, please. Again, you are a fairly regular attender at full council, so I think you also know the procedure. 3 minutes with the bell after 2 and then 3. So whenever you're ready, Nick, press the button and the time will start. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've come today to ask councillors to write to the Cabinet Member for Infrastructure to press the borough and county planners for a better bus station in the upcoming master plan. The bus station, or interchange if you prefer, operates for all the borough residents, from Mersey to Stanway, Grinstead to Shrub End. It isn't just a Castle Ward matter, nor just a county one. There's a constant drip of complaints in the media about the shabby facilities and general mayhem down in Osborne Street. We've heard 2 or 3 councillors grumbling, but we've heard nothing from the top table that gives us hope of improvement. You have the ear of the residents. Please express a view to the powers that be and publicly in your newsletter. It's a service for the community. The community's cabinet member, also a county councillor, should take an interest in it too. Plans for parking facilities for cargo bikes got a mention in the press release, but not the bus station. Well, one would think the latter is rather more important. Do we want more people on the buses or not? One can't help thinking that planners want to duck it because it stymies the development plans. If councillors do need a catch-up, suggest you go down there, introduce yourself with, "Hi, I'm a councillor. What do you think of this place?" and soak up the reaction. Show some concern. I don't expect a top of the range bus station, but there should be something a damn sight better than we currently have. I know travellers can get off on and off at other stops, but there has to be one central place for users to change buses with decent waiting facilities. Drivers need breaks, shift changes and short-term layovers. There isn't anywhere else. The town's on a hill. Convenience is a factor. Users can't be expected to run all over four sides of the centre to change buses. Please don't be persuaded by highways that these are minor practical matters and can be fudged somehow. Without the borough championing it, county will provide the bare minimum. And it's no good throwing out the stop line, we support the need for good public transport, if when the opportunity comes along to do something, nothing happens. And when I raised the matter at the residents' workshop, the response wasn't really very encouraging. It's pretty obvious that residents in the new builds south of the Roman wall will need it. So I'm asking for the portfolio holder, who apparently isn't here tonight, but for someone to please assure bus users that it is on the agenda for any big planning powwows. And that this council is on the case, lobbying Essex County for its current residents as well as the new for this facility.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you, Mr. Mayor.
Childers. Thank you. If you stay there, and I'll ask Councillor King to give you an answer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Nick. You and I have had some exchanges and I always value them. And about you contributing your time to, like many other residents, we've had, I think the latest count, over 1,800 representations to the master planning. So that's the context for my reply, which is to say, this council is on the case. Have to do it in the context of a wider review that looks at what we can do, when we can do it, that picks up the qualities of our city to be, and absolutely deserves the term. Conversation I've had with you and others also. We must deserve that attribute of a city. We are serious about this. We are aware that there are many concerns about the sum of our provision, including this interchange or otherwise, which makes some sense. The relationship, if we choose well, of a bus station or its equivalent with a railway station with foot and cycle. Those are the kinds of conversations that will be had. Absolutely, we're committed to doing the best we can, but absolutely ruling in, not ruling out. Thank you.
Before I give you another minute, Nick, I just want to check with Councillor Scott Boutel whether the technical issues are being resolved. Okay. No. Do you want some time to try and resolve the issue? Our friends from Marks Tay Radio, do you think you could, is it resolvable?
It's the equipment that I've been given by Master, not by Master, from Adam Brooks, and it's very challenging. There's two systems I use. One is Bonangas, the other is mid-ear implant.
So
The mid-ear implant one, all connected by Bluetooth.
so it's an Adam Brooks issue,
Well,
not,
I'm actually hearing you now. And I have no
Okay.
idea. Every bit of kit I've got sat on the side of my head. So, but then
you'll
actually,
keep going for the moment. If you need,
that's not working. So I have no idea what's going on. Absolutely no idea. But I can hear me
okay,
and I can sort of hear you. It's not easy hearing, but I will stay and follow. Thank you.
okay, thank you, Councillor Scott Boutel. Wave at me if you have any further issues.
Yeah, I will.
Or maybe we can, hang on. Mrs. Donnelly?
I was just going to suggest to know that we take a 10-minute break in order to facilitate some improvement in the council's got it out.
Okay, let's,
I think we
it's in general agreement, we'll take a 10-minute break, adjournment, please. So back here at 6:25.
I know. You know, about them back. I've got it sussed in the council chamber. I use in grand jury. I do mix and match. It's this room, and I knew this room would be a problem. And I'm the one who has gone on about accessibility. You know, and I'll be the one who, it's not your fault.
Stream it to your phone,
Well, that's what I was trying to do.
follow the meeting, there's a delay. It's probably about half a minute delay.
See, this. will
Not really,
connect,
not
this
gonna work,
is-
is it?
I mean, I used to have.
I
a
don't
big
like-
button
don't
inside
see
the
how
processor.
to play it.
Oh, no, we have a big button now, but I have to wear it. And I don't think it's right. You should put it on your phone. I said, you know, your phone's in your bag. And I went, not for, because I have no idea who I'm talking to. And when you know people with the same first name, so. And I have to be careful when I'm talking to them. I've never who actually hate you.
Microphone check. Microphone check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
members. Mr. Chilvers, if you'd like to come back, and you've had plenty of time to ponder on your extra minute. So I'm sure we'll get a lot of profound contribution from you now. So please have your extra 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It didn't take long. Apart from Councillor Scourders raising it in the press a couple of months ago, the silence on this matter of the unsatisfactory bus station has been deafening. We have 51 councillors. Now, it's about communication, really. People want to know whether in the future, sometime probably will have passed on by then, but sometime in the future, they can expect a better bus station. It could have been said in the press release. Managed to mention some other things, but a little bit of a throwaway line perhaps that indicated that those who use the bus station need it and can expect something better. Could have been given a steer as to what your plans are. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chilvers. I think that will be noted by all members and especially the cabinet members. The next speaker is Councillor Mannion, sneakily disguised as a Mr. Roger Mannion from Tiptree, is coming to have his say as a member of the public. So, Mr. Mannion, if you'd like to come to the table, please. You have 3 minutes. A bell will ring after 2 and then another one after 3. Your time will start when you press the button. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to ask the leader of the council a question. Has he or any of the cabinet been to Tiptree? For the benefit of those who haven't, perhaps I could give some facts and figures. Tiptree is a vibrant village with a population of approximately 10,000 inhabitants. It is some 10 miles southwest of Colchester, although as far as the residents are concerned, it could be 10,000 miles away. Tiptree is a contender for being the largest village in England. However, these facts seem to have been missed by this administration. Rural areas in general, and Tiptree in particular, have been very badly supported by CBC, with some exceptions. There is very little in either the future of Colchester or the town centre master plan to give any comfort to the rural areas. And while city status is very welcome, it does little for communities like Tiptree. And in fact, if anything, it will infer even more isolation. A city is a clearly defined area delineated by boundaries. A rural area, some 10 miles outside these boundaries, will have a difficult job believing they are included. Resources within the village are poor. Transport is a joke. And despite attempting to get this administration to think outside the box with the new rapid transit system, and I use the words rapid transit system advisedly, no consideration has been made beyond the city centre. I note that the bus service from Tiptree to Colchester will no longer call at the hospital. Thus, residents will now have to make a change of service in the town centre. Far from ideal. I suspect the residents will use a car rather than public transport. Until recently, the sports facilities in the village were badly run. A deliberate policy, I understand, by CBC. Only constant pressure from the parish council to stop these facilities being lost forever. Medical facilities are barely keeping pace with increases in population, and the road system, potholes, is a disgrace. I fully understand that some of these things are outside the control of CBC. However, support from the council to fight our corner would at least assist and allow residents to feel included. I formally ask that the next full council meeting should include an agenda item to debate the effects that Colchester-centric planning has on the remote rural areas and what can be done to improve this for all residents of rural wards and in particular Tiptree. Thank you.
Stay there for the moment, Roger. Councillor King, have you been to Tiptree?
Thank you, Roger. It's good to have you here in any capacity at all. Thank you for your remarks. You and I have had an exchange around, for example, I think rapid transport systems and bus linkages. So if we divide up your speech into several segments, if I may, and take them in turn. So much of what you touched on relates to, in terms of responsibility, the county council. So when we talk about roads and potholes, and to the extent that the county is able to influence, and I know that the leader of the county council wants to influence bus provision, that's primarily a county matter. As their partners, we have a voice. That voice is in the favour of doing the best we can. There's always a balancing act. You will know that. In terms of support to rural areas, I absolutely agree that there is a real risk and a past pattern of focusing on the town centre, and my colleagues understand that. In the work that's going to go ahead, which will involve all members, I want us to look at this as part of that work in terms of strategic priorities and forward plans. To the extent that we can, with the resources we've got, my personal commitment, and I carried this through in Mersey, was with colleagues, was to look at what the needs are, what the partnership can be. Some of the work that lies ahead for us will be looking at whether that relationship should change with parish and town councils, and what role Colchester City Council, as it will then be, should take. I expect it will change, and I think we'll have to look at what that balance might mean. More enabling, more local provision, but I recognise the realities that local funding and local support are a challenge as well. But a new conversation and a new relationship, and doing what we can where we can is my commitment. I had one extra thing, which is that there is a rural prosperity grant come through, prosperity fund with opportunities. It's £500,000, and we will want a conversation around how that could be spread in the spirit of the framework provided by government, and we will want conversation cross-party with members. Thank you.
You have an extra minute if you want to use it, Roger.
Yes, please. Just a quick note. I noticed that the leader has not actually answered the question at the very end, a request to have include an agenda item to debate these issues at the next full council meeting. Can I have this agreed or not, please?
Well, what I suggest, the leader and the cabinet can discuss that, but you might want to move a motion along those lines with the agreement of your group, and that probably will be the best way of dealing with it.
Okay.
Okay, so the next full council meeting, ordinary call, is December. Thank you, Roger. If you'd like to return to your seat, I don't think we have any other have your say speakers. So we'll move on to item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any members who wish to declare any interests on tonight's agenda? Nobody? Okay. Thank you. Item 4, minutes of the previous meetings. I move that the minutes of the meetings held on the 23rd of June 2022, the 4th of July and the 13th of July 2022 be confirmed as a correct record. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. Item 5, Mayor's announcements. I have a few. Firstly, I'd like to welcome Councillor Naylor to her first full council meeting. You're very welcome here. And join this illustrious group of people. Yes, you're very welcome, and I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself on Colchester Borough, soon to be City Council. The Oyster Feast is on Friday week. Thank you to those who are attending. It should be a really good event this year, and I think my guest speakers are being revealed to the public tomorrow, if not on the Gazette website tonight. So you will see who they are. City Status Council meeting, as you know, is on the 23rd of November. I hope you'll all be able to make that. That will be in the Moot Hall. We will be processing from the Mercury Theatre as previously planned, and details will be forthcoming over in the next few weeks. I heard a phone, but it wasn't, I don't think it was on loud, so I'll let whoever that was off. A few charity events coming up. On the 25th of November, I have a Mayor's Charity Quiz at Greenstead Community Centre in the evening. So hopefully all the groups will be able to provide at least one team. Each teams of up to 6 are allowed. Details on the mayorofcolchester.co.uk website. And also in December, some charity events. We've got an evening of ghost stories in the Civic Suite, ghost stories by M.R. James, told by Robert Lloyd Parry. That's on the 6th of December. You can book tickets for that through the Colchester Arts Centre website, and also for Anthony Roberts, a rendition of A Christmas Carol. He's doing two, but the one at the Castle is already sold out. There is also one again in the Civic Suite on Tuesday, the 13th of December, all proceeds to the Mayor's charities. And again, you can book for that through the Colchester Arts Centre website. Move on to item 6. I noticed you all scribbling away, getting those dates in your diaries. Good. Items referred under the call-in procedure. Are there any?
There are none, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clifford. Item 7, recommendations of the Cabinet panels and committee. And can I just say to members, it might be best if you stay seated tonight because you'll be nearer the microphone, might make it easier all round. So I know Councillor King has risen to his feet on a couple of occasions, but it just might be easier as we're in this room to stay seated when you make your contributions. Thank you. Councillor Corey, I invite you to move motion D, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Agenda item 7, year-end review of risk management, motion B. I move that the recommendation contained in the draft minute 684 of the Cabinet meeting of the 7th of September 2022 be approved and adopted. I won't speak for long on this. This has been through Cabinet with discussion and representation. It's also been through the Governance and Audit Committee, which thoroughly scrutinised this. And I've spoken to the chair about other comments to be thoughtful about. And I would say that, of course, we've agreed and noted last year's report, and we're looking at this year's strategy. This year has already been very turbulent, and I'm grateful that we review it every 6 months at the Governance and Audit Committee. And I think we will probably have some thoughts then when looking at the inflation levels, looking at government plans. They may change by the time we get to next week, but we know that there are many pressures at the moment in the economy, and we need to be astride those. We need to be looking at the effects upon our budgets and our borrowing and our lending. So I'm grateful of those who have already given good challenge to the report, and we will keep focused on it over the next 6 months when it next comes to governance and audit, and then over the whole year as well. So I hope councillors can approve this, and I thank those, especially on the Governance and Audit Committee, for their input. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Corey. Opening up for debate. Anybody wish to speak on this item? I see no hands going up. Any need to sum up, Mark?
Move to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I see all those in favour, please show? Anybody against? Then that is carried. Thank you very much. Item 7, little 2, Local Government Association Model Code of Conduct. Can I invite Councillor Paul Smith as Chair of the Governance and Audit Committee to move motion C, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the recommendations contained in minute 320 of the Governance and Audit Committee meeting of the 26th of July 2022 be approved and adopted. I will be happy to address any questions that members have in my summing up if necessary.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Anybody want to speak? Councillor Dave Harris, please. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I take your advice and will remain seated. I normally like to stand, but I just wanted to refer to this code of conduct as something I really want to back 150%, and well done for the council for adopting it. Essex County Council has already done so. We heard the Right Reverend give the prayers earlier on, and she talked about mutual respect and the Nolan principles and respect for each other's views, politeness to each other in the written and spoken word is all important. Under 311, Mr. Mayor, I have seen how society allows humans to treat each other with less than the highest standards in my time on this earth. We should expect higher standards from each other. In my years of social work and council life, I've seen much in the verbal and the written word that I didn't like. In fact, abuse and the written and vocal words, residents expressing unhappiness in a volatile way, raised voices, a lack of respect for each other's point of view, and councillors shouting when an opinion doesn't fit their own and ganging up on each other. Indeed, I've experienced and seen throwaway abusive lines in newsletters that I've seen out on the street about a colleague of mine going out of the country to care for a sick mother, resulted in attacks from residents over that. And wouldn't you want to go and see your sick mother after all, if you had to go and visit that mother for 3 or 4 weeks? In these days of emails and phones, you can easily do your council work while out of the country. I've had other throwaway lines about myself in similar newsletters, and which upset my family members. As the LGA document says, Mr. Mayor, we should be able to carry out the role of a councillor without being intimidated, abused, bullied, threatened by anyone. We should, shouldn't we, set examples as community leaders, and yes, of course, agree to have different opinions, but politely. Yes, persuasion is okay, but at the end, you should not be in raised voices. You should not be in the harsh and barbed words from a keyboard warrior, whether that be a resident or opposition or fellow councillor. And when a fail to agree has been arrived at, is good, not good to result to, I know, a better than you attitude. Please all, I urge every councillor here, Mr. Mayor, and I'm sure you would agree, because I know you've booked on the same day as I have, to sign up for the training as per the general contact in respect. I pledge I will treat other councillors and members of the public with respect. I pledge to treat local authority employees and representatives with the respect and roles that they play. And I pledge not to bully, intimidate, harass. And I pledge to promote equalities. And I certainly do believe, Mr. Mayor, in this new code of conduct. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Councillor William Sunnox, please.
Yes, can I warmly endorse what Councillor Harris said and just grind one small axe, which I can't resist. For me, the biggest reason why we need to go for a 4-yearly election cycle is because it will improve the way people treat each other. Instead of being set against each other every year, we'd be set against each other every 4 years. We would then have 3 years or 3.5 years, hopefully, to cooperate and be polite, and only 6 months then before the 4-yearly elections to start knocking each other around. I think that would make a real contribution to the way this council is run. And that, for me, is the big reason for going for it. It's not the cost of it. It's the tone, the way the tone of the council, I think, will change.
Thank you, Councillor Sunnox. Any other speakers on this item? Then Councillor Smith, I invite you to sum up for 3 minutes, please. Up to 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I shall attempt to be brief, and I thank Councillor Harris for his contributions and indeed to stress the training that is available for all councillors, and I hope that everyone will take full benefit of it. To Councillor Sunnox, I think is an interesting argument because it doesn't seem to work in Westminster, where I believe they have a 5-year term, and I think you will agree with me that the conduct between members at that place is perhaps not something that we would want to echo in this establishment. So perhaps little and often is better. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Move to the vote. All those in favour, please show. That looks unanimous. Is there anybody against? Then that is carried. Thank you very much. Move on to 7.3, scrutiny panel annual report. Invite Councillor Dennis Willits as chair of the scrutiny panel to move motion D, please, Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the recommendation contained in minute 360 of the scrutiny panel meeting 5th of July 2022 be approved and adopted. Mr. Mayor, the primary role of the scrutiny panel is to ensure that the executive decisions are in accordance with the strategic plan and the budget approved by this council. We do this by asking questions of portfolio holders, councillors, senior officers, experts, partner organisations, occasionally members of the public. Investigations for 2021 to 2 are summarised in the report on page 90 of the order paper. I would stress that our function is not to decide whether decisions were right or wrong in the political context, but purely to whether the decisions accord with the council strategy and its budget. We have a legal right to inspect any and every council document, written or electronic, albeit under a scheme of confidentiality for some issues, but it has not been necessary to exercise these powers during 2021-2. In addition to the work programme of the panel, I hope all members know that if 5 or more members believe that an executive decision did not adhere to the rules of good decision making as set out in the Constitution, they can call in the decision to be heard by the scrutiny panel. Disagreeing with the decision is not a valid reason. During 2021-2, there were no member call-ins at all. The final area of our remit is the councillor call for action. If a member believes there is a significant injustice in the decision and has exhausted every other possibility to resolve the matter in accordance with the procedure set out in the Constitution, the member may make a councillor's call for action to the scrutiny panel. There were no calls for action during 2021-22. So from the scrutiny panel's point of view, the council was extremely well run during that time. I commend the report to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Willits. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in the debate on this? No. No need to sum up then, Dennis?
Nothing to add, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Willits. Move to the vote then. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anybody against? That is also carried unanimously, I think. Item 7.4, statement of licensing policy for sex establishments. The Mayor, I'm going to invite Councillor Dave Harris as chair of the licensing committee to move motion E, please, Dave.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity. Yes, as per agenda item 7.4, statement of licensing policy for sex establishments, motion E. I move that the recommendation contained in minute 157 of the licensing committee meeting of the 20th of July be approved and adopted. And if I could go on, Mr. Mayor, and just briefly explain the licensing committee report. First, I'd like to thank all the superb Democratic Services team and the licensing officers and the committee members, including yourself, Mr. Mayor, and Councillor Mike Hogg and all the other members who sit on that committee, which does some great work, which I've seen firsthand. As probably most of us know, all policies of this council do not just gather dust on shelves. They are live documents and as such need periodical review. And that is what's happening here. The committee heard that the government legislation was followed as far as publicity and consultation for this review. The policy, first of all, was updated by officers by looking at the appropriate legislation changes and amending and adding words as required to make sure our policy in Colchester Council complied. We looked at the definition of sex establishments, looked at existing premises, and we have one in Colchester, as you know, Mr. Mayor, the rules by which if any new premises was to come forward would be measured in this policy, the location, etc., impact on locality, and of course, suitability of applicants. I remind all councillors, and most will know this anyway, that planning law may come into play, but not within this policy. This is just for the licensing part of it. Mr. Mayor, the policy has been updated with the review, the advice and guidance and objections, and how the council will determine such applications regard to human rights, crime and disorder, and corresponding with the Local Government Act 82. So, members, what you have today before you is the updated policy, which has been amended to take account of all current legislation. And I can assure members that the council can update this policy of law or guidance at any time within the life of this document until the next review. As to local press stories in the Gazette, which you may or may not have seen today, it is true that any new sexual entertainment proposed would have to apply under these rules, but it must fall within the definition of a sex entertainment venue. As with all other councils in Great Britain, where there is membership and all can be involved in a club, then it will be licensable. But those are the criteria. The officers consider they can see no new applications on the horizon and don't expect any, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to answer any and all questions. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Harris. Any contributions on this item? No? Okay, no need to sum up then, Dave. Thanks. I'll move straight to the vote. All those in favour, please show. Anybody against? Then that is carried. No votes against. Thank you very much. Move on to item 8, revised committee allocations. I invite councillor King to move motion F, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that in accordance with the provisions of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989, number of seats, group representation, membership, the Governance and Audit Committee, Policy Panel and Scrutiny Panel, including the Crime and Disorder Committee for the remainder of the municipal year be as circulated at this meeting. See pages 4 to 6 of the supplementary information. In accordance with the provisions of section 17 of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989, the appointments to the Licensing Committee, Local Plan Committee, Planning Committee and the Environment and Sustainability Panel for the remainder of the municipal year should not be on a group basis and membership shall be as circulated at this meeting. See those pages 4 to 6 of the supplementary information. I'll add a few words, Mr. Mayor. There has been a recent change in the political balance of the council. We don't need to explore that. It's understood. It happens. We are legally required to review how the political balance is reflected in the makeup of the committees and panels of this council when that happens, and to ensure that the allocation of seats on committees to those groups reflects the overall political balance. Main change has been the reduction of those committees and panels with membership of 11 to a membership of 10, which has led to some limited changes in their membership. The proposals that we have before us have been put forward with the agreement of the group leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, councillor King. Anybody wish to speak on this item? I don't see anyone. Can I move straight to the vote then? All those in favour? Thank you. Anybody against? Nobody against, then that is carried. Thank you very much indeed. Item 9, notices of motion. There aren't any, so straight on to item 10, questions to cabinet members and chairs pursuant to council procedure rule 10. I'm disappointed to see that there are no pre-notified questions. I did ask group leaders that if they want cabinet members and chairs to give full answers, they should pre-notify. So I hope any verbal questions that include that are asking for detailed responses have been pre-notified to the members concerned. Right, can I see who wants to ask a question, please? And we'll note them down and then we'll start. So Richard, you could start noting them down. If you could keep your hands up for the moment until I can see everybody who wants to ask a question. Hands right up in the air because we're at the same level as you. Right, keep your hands up and I'll go through them with Richard. We've got this side, we've got Councillor Barber, Councillor Laws, Councillor Willits, Councillor Hagan, Councillor Naylor, Councillor Gerard Oxford, Councillor Pearson, Councillor Warnes, Councillor Scordis, Councillor Sam McLean, Councillor Harris. We got them all. Thank you very much. I will take them from across the chamber as I can. So we'll start with Councillor Willits. Please say who your question is to, please, Dennis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to the portfolio holder for culture, cities, towns, villages and rural hovels, and concerns the good news that on 23rd of November, Colchester city status will be belatedly confirmed. My question to the portfolio holder is, will she publish a lexicography that defines the terms that we are to use in the city status debates? And if Mr. Mayor, I might quickly illustrate why I asked this question. The geographic centre of the city is at the junction of Malden Road and Canoblin Way in the southwest corner of Shrub End Ward. The centre of population of the city is the west end of Newtown, Christchurch Ward. We have commercial centres in the city, three of them, the historic centre, the Northern Gateway and Tollgate. And of course, Tollgate City is now the prime in that it has the largest occupied retail areas of the three. And we have a term such as the town centre, distinguished only by the fact that £18 million of government largesse from the town deal has been given. None goes to the deprived residents.
This will be the
of my
only
ward.
question unless you curtail it, Danny.
But they live in a city, but not a town. So I suggest the portfolio holder should provide us, and I ask that she does, with definitions of all these terms, so that when people talk about the city centre or the town centre or the centre of the city, we actually know what we're talking about. Otherwise, we have 51 different versions. And I think if she was to acquiesce to my question, debate would be a lot clearer, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Willett. Councillor Cox.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor Willits, for that. I think you've described the richness and breadth and variety of our amazing borough and city area. So we will be happy to engage with all of those things. I think that the motion that we will be dealing with on the 23rd of November will be about changing the name of the council. It won't be about changing other boundary matters. So I suggest you bring that matter back to that full council on the 23rd of November. Thank you.
Councillor Willett, do you have a supplementary?
Delighted to ask the question again on the 23rd of November if we don't get an answer this evening.
I don't think there's questions on the 23rd of November. I may be wrong, but you might get the chance in December when we will then hopefully be a city. Thank you very much. The next one I'm going to is Councillor Scordis, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is to my favourite cabinet member, but unfortunately not my favourite footballer after he put a video up recently, Councillor Goss. Sorry, give me a sec. So with Anglian Water being fined for illegal sewage discharges in Cambridgeshire, isn't it about time this council looked at taking action for similar occurrences in Colchester and the decades of failure to resolve the smell from the sewage farm in the Hive?
Thank you, Councillor Goss, or should I call you Councillor Lionel Messi? Definitely not.
Call me whatever you like. Certainly very tidy. Thank you for, no, tidy, not tiny, not as half, 6'1". So you let me know about this question earlier, so thank you for the courtesy, because you may not have got such a detailed response, but as you know, Belinda Silkstone has been working on this. So I'll read you the response that you got earlier, and then I'll give you some comments. So it says, Dear Councillor Goss, thank you for forwarding the question below. I emailed Councillor Scordis on the 9th of September 2022. The letter is attached, explaining that there is insufficient evidence to support the service of an odour abatement notice, and therefore the council is unable to take enforcement action. I have, for your response, updated the number of complaints received in 2022. And despite the excessively hot, dry summer, the number of received complaints in 2022 has been lower than in previous years. The Environmental Protection Team continue to monitor the complaint levels, and officers meet regularly with staff at the sewage treatment works where they are advised of any regular maintenance or any potential issues. With regards to the pollution of the River Colne, it is the Environment Agency and not the local council who hold the enforcement powers. I think that Anglian Water fined after the 5,000 fish and the £300,000 fine may be the incident Councillor Scordis is referring to, and I'm not aware of any other similar incidents in Colchester. To further add, of course, if we have sufficient evidence, we will prosecute just like we do for any breach of planning law. So please, councillor Scordis, do get your residents to report any issues. I know in fairness, you have done that on social media. I have seen it myself. I would compel you to continue to do that, but without sufficient evidence, we can't take something to court. It's really that simple. If we tried to do that, the case would not actually land. It would be thrown out and we would waste taxpayers' money. So I hope that answer gives you the full breadth of where we are, and please encourage all issues to be reported appropriately to the Belinda's team. Thank you.
Councillor Scordis, do you have a supplementary?
I do, Mr. Mayor. The biggest issue here is apathy, that people have reported it and nothing happens, so they don't report it again, similar to issues with the police, different issue. But what I would ask Cabinet Member is, could we make the system for reporting this much easier? Because actually, in the last year, it's been made harder by people having to log into a system. My residents are quite elderly. You know, if they have a computer, they're not very tech savvy. And it just becomes another barrier to reporting it, when some of them could just email an officer saying, I smelt this smell at this stage in this location, please note it down as evidence.
Well,
Councillor
you'll be very pleased to know that the system that the council migrated to about 12 to 18 months ago is from a company called Northgate, and frankly, they're absolutely dreadful. I've had experience of them in my professional day job some years ago, and I did raise, when we first moved to this system, a number of issues with it because I was one of the first users of it, and it was ghastly. And I do agree with you that we made the process a lot harder. That said, after me complaining, I did have some sessions to see the improvements that were made by Northgate, and it has improved the system, and it is more usable. However, I do agree with you that we should make everything and anything extremely counterintuitive and easy for our residents of all demographics, ages, etc., and backgrounds. So I will take that point away. And I have to say that I don't report things to the system. I just go straight to officers or straight to the inbox of that team, and they do still get resolved. So there are other ways around the process, because I like to find them.
Thank you, Councillor Goss. Move on to our next questioner, Councillor Darius Laws, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question to the leader. Following the local government peer review, although the report hasn't been formalised yet, we know, don't we, that there are going to be a number of recommendations in there to take forward, or at least to consider taking forward. I just wondered if he would share with us some of his excitement around some of those areas and the implementation process, please.
Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Darius. You pre-notified me. I knew you were going to ask about the LGA and the report. A bit of context, most members will know because we shared it. We made it available to every member to have the direct feedback from the team. So, and then we circulated, I understand, that recording and indeed their slides. So some assurance for you and for others who may have missed that we have been open from the beginning on this, because it's so crucial. The approach you and I have talked about has to be that this is about our council. It's the sum of what we've been talking about today, the way that committees and panels come together with the administration of the day, which changes we know, to do the best we can for our residents. So the effectiveness of the organisation, the effectiveness of what we sign up to as members in full council, having that looked at is a great thing. I am excited about challenge. I think it's where we do our best learning, and challenge at this time when we face a financial crisis for the nation and deep challenges for every council. Getting that view from distinguished leaders elsewhere is invaluable. We've shared it already. Your specific point to me earlier was about the report. The guarantee is, yes, we'll share the report, and we'll cooperate and collaborate on the response. I don't want any member, other than it's by their choice, to say, where has this come from? No, all we're doing at the moment, and all we will do going forward, strategic priorities included, will be around, and our response to the LGA in particular will be cross-party and beyond the chamber, if I can make it so. It will be as open to your view and to others here as I can make it. So transparency all the way through. We've done that to date. We'll do it to the close.
you have a supplementary, Darius? No, okay. Thank you very much. Our next questioner, councillor Pearson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is to the Leader of the Council. We earlier this evening agreed to accept the Code of Conduct. Section 2 of that refers in part to equalities, and I quote, "Councillors have a central role to play in ensuring that equality issues are integral to the local authority's performance and strategic aims, that there is a strong vision and public commitment to equality across public services." Would the Leader of the Council agree with me that this item, which is referred to as questions to Cabinet members and chairmen pursuant to Council Procedure Rule 10, is in fact not in the sentiment of that Code of Conduct, and therefore we should be seeking to have gender neutral language throughout our council matters?
Councillor King.
Thank
This
you.
is about Code of Conduct, councillor Willett, so I think those sort of harumphs aren't required, especially on the question on this subject. So councillor King, please.
I knew half this question was coming about gender, and I assumed it was going to be about pronouns. So thank you, councillor Pearson, for linking it to the Code of Conduct. So let's go one step back. We're committing ourselves to Code of Conduct, whatever that requires of us. That's my start and end point we will go and do. I understand harumphs. I had a session this afternoon with members from another local authority very close to ours, and there was a debate around chair, which is the term I was using, and chairman, and whether furniture was part of the discussion. So there you go. Yours, not necessarily my sense of humour, but I kind of understand there is a transition for people in terms of language. So absolutely, personally, I use chair as it's neutral. I'll continue to do so. I see that's not what everybody wants to do, and I think we should give each other a little bit of latitude. But the spirit and the detail of the Code of Conduct is what we've just committed ourselves to. So we'll follow that. That will matter most, I think.
A supplementary, councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. My next questioner is councillor Barber, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you may indulge me, I have two questions. One to the Cabinet member responsible for transport at this authority, and one for Cabinet member for resources. I'll start with the one on transport. In Chelmsford and Braintree district areas, the Digigo scheme has been highly successful and has been expanded due to this success. Will the Cabinet member in Colchester support the use of Section 106 money for the development of the scheme in Colchester and or use of the Rural Prosperity Fund, given rural areas that are the primary beneficiaries of this scheme? Thank you.
Councillor King, is that you? In the absence of any other?
In the absence of any other, let me acknowledge the question. I would like to have a look at that and talk to the portfolio holder about how we sit with current policy and approach and practicality above all things, but thank you.
A supplementary? No. Okay, go on to second question.
My second question for the portfolio holder for resources is, would the portfolio holder provide a general update on the capital programme, whether we're on target for this financial year and or whether the council is planning to cancel or delay any projects given the financial situation? Thank you.
Councillor Corey, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Barber. So last night, in fact, we had a good discussion on the capital programme at governance and audit. So that's where we have those discussions, and actually there's some really good members on there. Not to say there weren't any before, but there's some excellent members on your side and across the political spectrum who have an understanding of some of the financial sort of ins and outs, not just to do with developments, but all sorts of capital projects. So we had a good discussion there, and we'll continue to do so about our capital programme, the current situation of it and the future situation going forward. So we were reporting last night and having a good discussion about how much has been spent so far, and how at the moment we are sort of at a lower end of spending projects, and we explained why that was due to inflationary costs, due to lack of workforce and labour, getting certain jobs done, etc. So we are faced like any other business with that, and having such a large capital programme, we're even more at risk with inflation and getting the workforce and resources we need. So we realise, and it was picked up in the LGA peer review, and it was picked up by us actually in the former administration as we were leaving that administration, that we needed to look again at the capital programme because of pressures following on from Brexit as well. I assume when the administration changed, there was probably similar thoughts and thinking, right, can we go forward with this project or not? We'll pause this one. So when it comes down to it, I'm being very honest, we do need to continue to look at it, and we're going to do a complete review, which I've already said at Governance and Audit last night, and the leader has backed up and said that we're very open to all councillors to take part in comments about the capital programme, because we know it's ambitious. We know we often as Colchester try and do so many things that perhaps we do need to scale down in the current climate because of the pressures we face. So yes, we are talking about it at Governance Audit. We will be reviewing it, and that will be a more open discussion through Cabinet, but we'll have a look at how we involve others as well. I know Councillor Sunnix, for example, has been very interested, emailing me privately about it, and other members of the Governance and Audit Committee. So we will continue to look at the programme. There's no, I can't say now, because genuinely we haven't got to that point to say we've stopped any projects or we'll start this one, etc. But we will have to have a very good look at each one due to the problems in the economy.
Councillor Barber, do you have a supplementary? No, you're right. Okay, thank you very much. Next question now, Councillor Gerard Oxford, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I ask a question, I'd just like to send apologies for the November meeting for city status, because I can't access the moot halls. Otherwise, I would have liked to have been there to support that. So that's why I'm not there. That touches on equality again, which we don't have here. Right, my first question is for the leader of the council, if I may, please. And that is, this was pre-notified in a way because I emailed him on the 2nd of September with detailed questions regarding environmental matters, because I hadn't had any joy with other replies from other people. And I still haven't had any reply to that from 2nd of September. And we're now, is it the 18th of October? Thank you.
It's the 19th of October. Before I ask Councillor King to reply, can I ask Mrs. Donnelly, because there is, Councillor Oxford has made a claim that the town hall isn't accessible. We had a email exchange that you believe it is. Mrs. Donnelly, could you give us an update on whether we believe the town hall will be accessible for Councillor Oxford and others for the 23rd of November full council meeting?
Well, I'm very happy to do that, Mr. Mayor, but I have been in private correspondence with Councillor Oxford, which I would prefer remains that way, because there are references in that correspondence to his own personal circumstances that I don't believe it's appropriate to discuss in a wider environment such as this. However, I can give some general assurances about accessibility to the town halls. You know, we are, I think most of you know, we are awaiting long awaited part to ensure that the lift is accessible from all floors. However, we have commissioned an independent review of the safety of the lift and have had assurances that the lift is safe and accessible, except with the minor problem of accessing the lift from the first floor. And now that means that for some individuals, that's a little bit of inconvenience, whereas for others, it's a major issue. But I prefer not to go into those circumstances this evening. We remain confident that the parts will arrive, but I think all of you are familiar with the issues around supplies right now, and the distribution channels and the difficulties with the logistics. And as soon as it is, it will remain fully accessible at all levels. What we've tried to do, and this is why we're here this evening, is to find a workaround in the meantime. But as you can see, as we play into one set of circumstances, we disadvantage another, as you've seen this evening with other councillors. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Mrs Donnelly. And my understanding is, especially with my theme of the year of celebrating diversity, challenging prejudice, that everybody should be accessible. I'm going to come back to you for a supplementary. You can use it however you wish, Councillor Oxford. But first, I'm going to ask Councillor King to answer your substantive question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and my thanks to Councillor Oxford. He and I have many exchanges, and he knows that the normal service, I hope he would say this, is pretty swift and as thorough as we can. I'll simply say that on this occasion, clearly we have between us Mr. Trick. The information in question I know has been secured. I made sure it was. It should have been forwarded, and my apologies openly to Councillor Oxford. I will sort this out in the coming couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor King. Councillor Oxford, supplementary on either or both of those points made by Mrs Donnelly and Councillor King.
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, thank you to the Leader of the Council. I'll look forward to receiving that information. Secondly, I had an detailed email only last week saying that we are awaiting critical components for the lift, and they now won't be in until the new year. I haven't been able to use that lift on medical advice since May. And this is the first full council where I've had the opportunity to ask any questions, because the other one was in July, which was the extraordinary one, which didn't have questions to portfolio holders. So this is my first opportunity since May. So other than that, I have been resorting to using email, which is not very satisfactory. And therefore that's my answer to that. If you've got a critical component, that says it itself, there's a safety issues. It also said that even when those parts are replaced, they can't guarantee, because of the age of the lift and its long-standing wear and tear, that it will survive beyond that. Survive is my word, not break down again beyond that. So maybe that's a capital program issue. Anyway, so that's the follow-up. I have one more question for the Leader of the Council, if I may.
I think you can only ask one per portfolio holder.
Right, in that case, can I ask one of the portfolio holder for planning?
You certainly can.
Right.
They're not here, but you can ask it, and we'll ask one of the cabinet to answer it.
Right, okay, whoever you like. I have had conversations with the leader about this, because we feel quite strongly that if any wards within the borough are required to take housing, obviously as part of the local plan, etc., that those wards should benefit from the Section 106 money by way of community assets, rather than that money being taken away and used elsewhere. So I'm asking whether or not there are any plans for the portfolio holder for planning, and indeed the cabinet, to consider that the redistribution of Section 106 money going forward. Thank you.
Was that pre-notified, that question, Councillor Oxford?
As I said, well, I have talked to the Leader of the Council on this subject before.
Okay, Councillor Julie Young is offering to answer this one. So Councillor Young, please.
I'm not sure I can answer it in entirety. What I can advise the member of is that there's scrutiny will be considering 106 contributions. I think it's at the November meeting. So it might be if Councillor Oxford can access that meeting, that there might be some clarity that can be brought to bear during that scrutiny session. And if that isn't sufficient, then it's up to the scrutiny committee to actually delve in a bit deeper on that, but it might be helpful to Councillor Oxford.
Thank you, Councillor Young, and we will make sure the question is forwarded to Councillor Luxford Vaughan. Do you have a supplementary, Gerard? Is that all your questions?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is Councillor Hagan, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chair. My question is for the portfolio holder for waste and recycling service. I guess it might be Councillor Goss. my residents in Stanway have asked repeatedly if there's any way where they don't currently have wheelie bins that the waste and recycling service is able to pick up their rubbish from wheelie bins if they were to provide their own. Now, I've spoken to officers on a tour of the recycling centre in Shrub End, and I've been told technically it's possible. With the peer review just happened, and it was very informative. So I want to thank everyone involved in that. It did state that there would be a waste review. It should happen. That's what they were recommending to happen. It was a waste review. Can I ask the portfolio holders, please, to commit to investigating whether or not the recycling trucks that are capable of wheelie bin collections can also be used just to take bags. So therefore, we give him the choice of making it simple and easier, in his own words, for collection services across this borough to be city of Colchester, not Westminster, just to clarify. Thank you.
Councillor Goss. Indeed, and I hope you enjoy the long answer I'm going to give you. So at this moment in time, and you should be aware of this, that the Environment Panel did have a presentation in the last administration's year to state that we would be looking to do a new waste strategy. And indeed, that work continues, but this time on my watch. So that paper will be coming back to that panel shortly to discuss how we're going to be taking a new waste strategy forwards. At this moment in time, Essex County Council wishes to push up the recycling rates across the whole of Essex to 70%. And we're currently sitting, depending on which stat you look at or which month, the record this year has been 56%, which was the record when I was last the portfolio holder. So that is the direction of travel that Essex County Council wishes to go in. And they wish all authorities in Essex to also be part of their more strategic work. So now back at a local level, there will be fundamental work undertaken on that strategy, and that strategy will deliver the middle of 2023. And the outcome of the future of the waste service will be contained in that strategic paper. And that strategic paper will look at all parts of the waste service, not just residential waste. It will look at business and commercial waste. It will look at all streams and how we collect, and also how things are recycled. Colchester, of course, is only a collection authority. The disposal authority is, of course, Essex County Council, and that is where that legal responsibility sits. When we spent £4 million buying the new Euro 6 trucks several years ago, they do have the capacity to be converted into wheelie bin trucks. But of course, we've only got a number of wheelie bin routes, and we have around about 17,000 properties in the borough that have wheelie bins. And the only place that that will increase will be in Mile End, where the new house building is, on the Chesterwell development, because that was agreed so that it continues to have the same generic service and we don't mix it up with wheelie bins and black sacks. But to come back to your question, no, we can't have a mixed service where people just put whatever they like out on the street. You are either on a wheelie bin route, and those residents will know they're on a wheelie bin route, or they will be on a black sack route. We do not mix. We do not take the contents of bins out of wheelie bins or any kind of receptacle for health and safety reasons on a non-wheelie bin route, and that has been in operation for some years. It does, however, sound very positive, Councillor Hagan, that you sound in support of wheelie bins, which is a fantastic transition, as previously I don't believe you were. So the waste strategy will take care of that, and I hope that's given you a comprehensive answer to your question, that we will have a much more strategic view and approach to our waste service in the middle of 2023, whoever is running the town hall, but hopefully I'll still be here.
Councillor Hagan, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, just one. Thank you. I'd like to thank Councillor Goss for his detailed and laborious answer. That's very kind of him. I will actually remind him I was asking on behalf of my residents in Stanway, not my own opinions on wheelie bins. I would also just like to come back and ask the question, is the decision we will not, his decision or decision of officers. Thank you.
Councillor Goss.
Any decision to not remove contents on a non-wheelie bin route is a health and safety matter. It's an operational health and safety matter. And I don't think we'll be going against any health and safety advice to put our staff at risk at all.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Councillor Warnes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Having been approached by a constituent living with disabilities about the difficulties regularly encountered when using a motorised scooter within the city centre, can I ask the Chair of the Council Scrutiny Committee if he will ask his committee if they will include into their work programme an item to scrutinise the performance of Essex highways in relation to maintenance of pavements within the city centre?
Thank you, Councillor Warnes. Councillor Willetts.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, every meeting of the scrutiny panel has an item where either members of the panel or members of the council can ask that any issue, any relevant issue, be looked at by the panel. It is necessary for the member requiring or asking to produce a brief note to the committee clerk to be circulated around to the members so that we can be well advised on whether it is an area where the scrutiny panel can make a positive contribution to the smooth running of the borough. So yes, we will look at it if he puts in a note, and it is up to the democratic view of the panel whether they consider it should be added to the work programme.
I think the question can be given as that note. Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Warnes?
No, thank you, Chair.
So, Mr. Clifford, that's been noted and can be forwarded on to the scrutiny panel. Thank you very much indeed. Next question is from Councillor Naylor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much for the warm welcome to the meeting tonight. I have a question for the portfolio holder for local economy and transformation. The question is, the Local Government Association peer review rightly identified that city status is a significant opportunity that must be taken full advantage of. Councillor Cox has already talked about various activities to mark city status, which is welcome. But residents of the communities I represent in Oldham, Braeswick, 8 Ash Green, Fordham Heath and West Bergolt want to know how exactly city status is going to be used to drive greater prosperity and economic opportunity. Could the portfolio holder give an update into the progress to date and an insight into the specific work that will or has been done to achieve this? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Naylor. Councillor Fox.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the question, Councillor Naylor. I think as the leader of the council has already said, we don't yet have the full detail of the report from the peer review team. But of course, having heard their feedback verbally, we're already thinking about how we can build on the suggestions that they've made to us. And clearly city status is a fantastic opportunity for the whole of Colchester, its towns and its villages, its urban and its rural areas. And we want to take full advantage of that. What we have started to do is to put together a plan for the legacy of the city, of city status. And in fact, I've just spent the last 2 days with LGA colleagues looking at economic growth and how we might be able to really take advantage of city status, learning from other authorities from across the country. And I would be would really like to work with you and with other councillors from across the chamber to think about how we can make sure that the benefits of city status and the opportunities that it provides for economic growth can be spread across the whole of the new city for everybody to benefit from. Thank you.
Do you have a supplementary, Councillor Naylor?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to ask for a commitment to a date when that plan will be shared. that detail that we've just spoken about and that Councillor Fox has just gone into some detail about. I'd like to understand when we can expect to hear a bit more.
Timescales, please, councillor Fox.
I think we're due to receive the final report from the peer review team in the coming weeks, and once we have achieved that, I'll be happy to explain to the whole of the council how we'll take forward all of these matters. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next questioner is councillor Sam McLean.
Well, my question was actually the same as councillor Naylor's. I was wondering what the benefits would be of city status, but yeah, it's already been answered. Thank you.
It's all right, unless councillor Cox or Fox want to say anything further. Councillor Pam Cox.
Yes, thank you. I could say something briefly. I mean, as you know, our initial plans for city status celebration had to be sadly postponed because of the death of Her Majesty the Queen. And on that note, I did want to pay tribute to officers for all their incredible work in ensuring that their civic ceremonial events went off with such precision and aplomb. And it's true that our civic traditions are a credit to us all, and they will play a key part in our upcoming celebrations of city status. You know, we have a signed charter signed by Henry V in the basement of the museum. So that would be nice to see, I think. Just to say something briefly on these plans, I mean, a very key important point to make that these are collaborative plans. We want to be discussing these with members and indeed residents. But there's a three-pronged approach to it at the moment. One is to get the formal civic celebration to go absolutely smoothly on the 23rd of November. The second is to create a year of events, or to curate a year of events under the aegis of the Visit Colchester team, to highlight our heritage, cultural and other assets. And there you'll see an economic benefit through enhanced tourism, I would hope. And then, as Councillor Fox has just said, and Councillor King has alluded to, some longer legacy planning will emerge as a result of the insights from the peer review team, who encouraged us to think big around city status, which I think we would all embrace. And that will be an opportunity to leverage all sorts of things, you know, new investments around our incredible 5G infrastructure that will allow things like virtual heritage projects to get off the ground in the longer run. So I think we need to be, you know, ambitious and collaborative about our approach to city status and the opportunities it affords.
Councillor Cox, any supplementary, Councillor McLean?
No.
Thank you very much. Next question, Councillor Smithson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a question for the portfolio holder for resources. In light of the ongoing issues regarding Councillor G. Oxford's access to the town hall and the inability of members to attend significant events in the civic calendar, can I ask the portfolio holder if they can provide assurance to this council that the council is in fact in compliance with Section 20 of the Equalities Act 2010, and they have not inadvertently breached Rule 14, subsection 17B of the council procedure rules? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smithson. Councillor Corey.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Smithson. It's an absolute sort of major pillar of this council that we apply to the Equalities Act, and we want to ensure, as we stopped the meeting earlier, that everyone can participate as best as possible. And we will do that with digital technology too, but essentially we want to make sure the town hall is fully accessible. And I really would refer back to our CEO's answer earlier from Pam Donnelly, that we are doing everything we can to make it accessible. It does come down to personal requirements as well, but we will do everything we can to ensure our building is accessible. And at this moment in time, it is. But also we need to make sure that every personal requirement is met as best as possible. And we've seen that with two examples this evening. So I will continue to do that because I believe wholeheartedly in the Equalities Act and would want to support every part of it. So thank you, Councillor Smithson. We'll do our best to uphold it.
Thank you. My understanding is we are in compliance with all aspects of the Equalities Act. Do you have a supplementary, Rees?
I do, Mr. Mayor. The council has an obligation to make reasonable adjustments as an employer and for members of the public alike. How can we be in compliance with that when we are not making those reasonable adjustments?
Councillor Corey.
as you've heard this evening, without going into private circumstances, we have tried to make sure we are compliant with the Equalities Act, which we are. But in terms of personal circumstances, we are trying our best to resolve those. And I'm afraid due to logistic and resource issues, we do not have the part for that lift, for example, and that is a major concern. I'm more than happy to talk with the chief executive, with the mayor, with the leader about what other plans we have, but they need to be discussed, and they need to be discussed with the individuals as well. But as a whole, as the mayor has just said, we do apply to the Equalities Act. We are compliant.
Thank you very much, Councillor Corey. Can I see if there's any more questions before I call Councillor Harris? Any more questions, or this will be the who's that waving? Beverly Oxford. Okay, so Councillor Harris and then Councillor Beverly Oxford. Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity. I've got two questions, Mr. Mayor. One to Councillor Fox and one to Councillor Goss, both of which I've verbally notified them of. The first one is Councillor Goss over the waste. As you all know, I came to the Cabinet to talk about a subject, and it was a letter from the Environment Agency over persistent organic pollutants, of which I am not one, I can assure you. But so far, so good, or should I say sofa, not good, because it actually stopped us picking up sofas and disposing of them in the waste system. I wondered if Councillor Goss could update the council over the different interpretation that ECC and Colchester have, and if there's any updates, please. Thank you.
Councillor Goss, bulky waste.
Yeah, the good news is that the service for sofas has been reinstated, and we will continue to collect those as we did previously. We stopped doing that on the 1st of September after some advice from DEFRA, and we've taken some further advice and decided to reinstate it for the time being, and that was back on the website again today. So hopefully that gives Councillor Harris a positive answer.
Thank you. That is good news. Some of my constituents will be pleased with that. Councillor Harris, do you have a supplementary?
No, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Goss, for that reply. Thank you.
Go on to your second question then, please.
Yes, thank you very much. The second question is about us being a business-friendly council and a resident-friendly council. And as Councillor Fox will know, Stane Park is full of new businesses and businesses that have been relocated, and they're trading. It's a place where our residents want to work, rest and play and get to and from. And I've found certainly people who want to work there, that the east-west bus service is less than ideal to get people from Old Heath, from Grinstead, from Shrub End, from Beerchurch and Prittygate to Stane Park and back. And the only way that's going to happen is if the roads get clogged. A bus service will solve that. Would the portfolio holder urge and consider supporting a bus service going east-west and work with Essex County Council in any endeavours to do that?
Councillor Fox.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you very much, Councillor Harrison, for the pre-notification of the question. Obviously, in a growing place and a soon-to-be city as great as Colchester, we have a kind of a multi-centre led economy now, including the town centre, but also Stane Park and other locations. And it's really important that the infrastructure keeps up with those developments too, and bus services are a vital part of that. I think I've already started hearing reports from local members and from residents that the infrastructure in Stanway is already creaking as a result of that new development. And you say that it's full of shops in it. Of course it is, but it's not yet full. There are new stores to open there, and already there are concerns about car parking not meeting the requirements of that development. And so it's vital that we do have public transport and active travel routes to it from all over Colchester, and that people are able to get across the whole of Colchester, its towns and its villages. So I would like to see a new bus service if that is viable, and I'll certainly work with you, with the county council and with the bus companies to see if that is a viable option. And I hope that it will be in the future, because it's really important that people can travel to Stane Park by bus and by cycling and walking there too.
Councillor Fox, supplementary, Councillor Harris? No. Good. Councillor Beverly Oxford then, please.
Thank, thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is either to the Leader of the Council or Councillor Corey. I don't mind who answers it. You are not complying with the DDA. As we are having problems with this lift, why has the council not moved meetings to accessible venues, which they could have done and have not done? So my fellow ward councillor has been unable to take part in the democratic process since May because he has not been able to access the town hall. Why were these meetings not moved?
Councillor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Oxford, Beverly Oxford. There's been a lot of exchanges about this, direct and with Gerard, and this is rightly, because it is important, had an airing today. We ought to start with where it won't be an answer to you, Bev, it won't work for you. But the facts of the matter is we are committed to doing all we can, and I absolutely understand the shortfall on the ideal. All I can say is I know that Gerard is seeking advice from the LGA. There is little value in me repeating what's been said by both the Chief Executive, been said by me on basis of advice I've had, or by Councillor Corey. But you know, the spirit in which we approach these things, I hope we're all agreed upon in this chamber, such as it is, which is to make this place in all its forms, wherever it may be, as accessible as possible. We're committed to that. I think we have to wait the challenge and the advice, and we'll see whether, because we can't undo the past, whether we got that judgment wrong, and we'll take what learning we can from it going forward. But I'm pleased that we can at least gather in one place, even though, as said, that's brought some other problems for other people. Thank you.
You have a supplementary, Councillor Oxford?
Well, yes, I have, because you haven't answered the question at all. We have asked repeatedly for meetings to be moved to accessible venues, which you have not done. Why haven't you done it? Apparently, before, when the lift started to play up, arrangements were made for meetings to be held somewhere else, but somehow that got stopped and the town hall was continued to be used. You have not answered the question, why were the meetings not moved to accessible venues before?
Councillor King.
Perhaps we need to give you another case-by-case example. All I can say is a repetition and use of our collective time. Judgments made at the time was that the lift was and still remains accessible. The dialogue that followed was around personal circumstances and the challenge for your husband in terms of how he felt, which I know and understand since has been supported by his doctor as a real issue. And that's influenced certainly my take on what we should do, that we should make the extra effort despite the extra cost and despite the implications for some other members as experienced today, to do all we can to accommodate. I repeat, I can't undo what we didn't do. If we got that wrong, you have my sincerest apologies and it will be publicly expressed by me. I just know that case by case officers, the Chief Exec and I, were engaged in a dialogue in which we did our best to accommodate Gerard. And we may have fallen short of that, we'll be told, and so we'll learn from it. But as I say, case by case, we were trying to find a way. Indeed, to get it fixed was clearly the best thing to do. And for a period, it looked like it might be done swiftly. We are now where we are, which is no consolation at all, but it's just a fact of the matter. Here we sit, here we are, doing the best we can. Thank you.
Councillor King. That's all the questions that, unless anybody has got any further questions tonight. Can't see any. Right, thank you. We'll move on to item 11, schedule of portfolio hold decisions. Can we note those, please? Is that agreed? Thank you very much. There are no urgent items, so that concludes the meeting. I declare it closed. Thank you very much indeed.